Hello, my name is Christian Omoide, a student at Southern New Hampshire University. So currently I'm working on the project called Government and You under the Contribute to the Society goal. In this project, I'm going to explain much more about the way the US government operates by exploring different government branches and their laws and their connection and how they work with each other. I will also talk about the political parties in the US politics, talking about the major ones and the importance spread by others that are not most, the two reading, I mean the Republican and Democrats. Lastly, I will give a brief explanation about how the process of making law rego from the proposal of the Senate. As I will be helping the citizen to understand much about this operation of the US government, I will use the help of some local citizen to help and tell us what they already know. And from that, I will provide a clear explanation from what they already know or correct some of the confusion for what they have or what they don't understand. Furthermore, I have used the two citizens who was willing to give their consent to be interviewed for the purpose of this project. Today we are on 29th October. My name is Christian Muire. I'm a student in the Bachelor of Arts program with Coach for America at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'm conducting this interview as part of my academic work. With your consent, I will record this interview and use the information in a government and you project I'm working on for the contributing to the society goal. The interview will be used to create my government and you deliverable and submitted to the College for America so that my project can be evaluated. This recording will be used solely for this purpose. The interview information will be temporarily stored in the College for America online evaluation system, to which only the evaluator and College for America staff will have access. Do you have any question?
No.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded?
Yes. I. My name is Dusabe. I give my formation concept to participate in this interview to be recorded and used as a party of the students' academic work.
Okay, thank you. Now I have a question that I'm going to ask you. So, the first question is, what are the three branches of the US government?
There is legislative,
Yes.
judiciary, and executive.
Okay, thank you. Then the second question is, what does each branch do?
Implementing laws, enforcing laws, and implementing laws.
Okay, thank you. So the third question is, Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. So please, can you name the third party?
There is white party.
Okay, thank you. And then the fourth question is, what is the basic process by which a bill becomes a law?
I think it becomes a law after being signed by the president.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Dusare, for your time and consideration.
Thank you too.
Today we are on 29th October 2021. My name is Christian Omoire. I'm a student in Bachelor of Arts program with College for America at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'm conducting this interview as part of my academic work. With your consent, I will record this interview and use the information in a government and you project deliverable I'm working on in contribute to the society goal. The interview will be used to create a government and you project deliverable and submitted to the College for America so that my project can be evaluated. This recording will be used surely for this purpose. The interview information will be temporarily stored in the College for America online evaluation system, to which only the evaluator and the College for America staff will have access. Do you have any question?
No.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded?
Yes. I, Y. Marys, give my informed consent to participate in this interview to be recorded and used as a part of the student academic work.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Marys. So I have four questions I'm going to ask you. Then the first question is, Um, what are the three branches of the US government?
The three branches of U.S. government are executive, legislative, and judiciary.
Okay, thank you. What does each branch do?
The legislative implement the laws, executive enforces the laws, and judiciary interprets the laws.
Okay, thank you. The third question is Democrats and the Republicans are the major parties. So please, can you name the third party?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. And then the fourth question is what is the basic process by which the bills becomes a law?
The bills become the law when the president sign on it.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Maris, for your time and
You're
consideration.
welcome.
As I say that, I will provide clear explanation from what the citizen already know or correct some of confusion for what they don't understand. Here are my clarification. From the first question that was asking what are the three branches of the government, in the second question that was asking what does each branch do, let us see first an image that is going to show us more about the three branches of the government and what does each do. Welcome on this image. This image is showing us the three branches of the US government. And as on an image, it is clear that the government is composed of three different branches, that is the legislative, executive, and judicial. And the second question, it was asking what does each branch do. It is clear that the legislative makes the law, where it is composed of the Congress and different senates in the House of Representatives, while the executive enforces the law, and there is a president, the vice president, and the cabinet. And there is also another branch that is the judicial, and its role is to interpret the law, and it is composed of a Supreme Court and other federal courts. Thank you. Now, let me continue explaining more about the four questions. Let me first start on the first question that was asking what are the three branches of the US government. So, by answering to this question, the three branches are the legislative, executive, and judiciary branches. And their law is that the legislative implements the law, executive enforces the law, and judiciary interprets the law. Now, let us move on the second question. What does each branch do? As their roles are explained above, these three branches work in a connection to ensure the most effective government operations. Below is who they work together. Legislative. This branch is there to make laws. It is composed by the Congress, made of House, Representative, and Senate. Briefly, they have the following laws: to make the laws, confirm or reject presidential nomination for heads of federal agencies, judges, or the Supreme Court, depending on different factors and the reasons available, and they are the one authorized to declare a war against any other nation. Executive. This one carries out or implement the laws made by the President, Vice President, Cabinet, and most of federal agencies. They are all voted to serve their terms. President leading the country, Vice President assisting him or her, and ready to read in case the President is unable, and the Cabinet serving as the advisors of the President. In one sentence, I can say that the executive branch is there to read the citizen to obey the confirmed legal laws. Then moving forward on the judicial branch, primary law of judicial branch is evaluating the law. It is made by the Supreme Court and other courts, and their main role is to evaluate the law to ensure that they are not against the Constitution and therefore applying them to the citizens. So as a reference to more details about this, I refer to the US Government 2021 article about the branches of the US Government. Therefore, there is connection lies between how they are nominated and work with each other. According to this same research, the legislative is in charge of confirming the presidential nomination of heads of federal agencies, courts, and others, which shows their influence on the executive on what happens with the judiciary. It is also in charge of drafting the law. On the other hand, judiciary also evaluates the law to ensure that it doesn't violate the constitution, which shows the influence of judicial to legislative work too. Executive has the main role of carrying out the law and being composed by presidents and other executive agencies are there to ensure that laws are obeyed in the society. B. The three branches have a way they regulate each other as detailed here. According to Vote-Smart ND, as the legislative is in charge of making the laws, the president may sign or reject the law based on 2 of 3 of the votes of the Congress, and the court may find the law contradicting with the Constitution, which leads to its denial, while the judiciary are in charge of interpreting the law. The president has the authority to nominate the federal judges in the judiciary, and the legislative have the power to review and approve or reject such presidential judges' nomination as well as other nomination of the officials. 4. The president has the right to make treaties with other countries or organizations, but the legislative has to ratify them to be officially approved. 4. The same thing with the legislative. They have the power to make the government budget, but the president must sign it to be officially approved, as well as all other laws they make. Then fifth, finally, legislative has the power to impeach any official from any of all these branches, including their own branch, whenever they believe that they have breached some laws or constitution. So with all those distributed powers among those branches, that is how they regulate each other. So now let us move forward and look how do they regulate each other. I mean checks and balance. So firstly, the system of checks and balance in government was developed to ensure that no one branch of government would become too powerful. Furthermore, as we have seen that the framers of the Constitution has divided the powers and the responsibility of new federal government among three branches, that is the legislative branch, executive branch, and the judicial branch, it has been found that there was a need of system in order to make sure that no branch would grab too much power. Therefore, this made the existence of checks and balance, and their function is to make sure that no one branch would be able to control too much power, and also these have created the separation of powers. Therefore, this means that the function of checks and balance is to make sure that no one branch would be able to control too much power, and it created the separation of powers. Now we are going to move on the third question, that is asking, Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. Can you name a third party? My answer is yes. There are other parties like Reform Party, Libertarians, Natural Law, and others. According to Locke and Dee, even though the two major ones are the Democrats and Republican, so this means that there is a two-party system in American political system. So let me give you a brief history of how this two-party system started. First, I would like to explain what a two-party system means. According to Lumen ND, a two-party system is a system in a country where there are two dominant parties that any other one else to have extent that is almost impossible for any other party other than any of the two to win any political campaign like the presidential campaign. Now, the history of how it started according to the US history ending, this system first started in 1796 elections where there were two political parties with strongly opposed principles. The Federalists, who were composed by most of wealthy people like merchants, artisans, and creditors, and the Democratic Republic, which was also referred to as anti-federalists, who were composed of more farmers and other Scottish ethnic groups. Furthermore, The Federalists who thought of themselves as the friends of others wanted to keep all the leadership power to themselves, which was strongly opposed by anti-federalists who were thriving for the independence to all. As they thought of themselves as friends of equal rights and warm advocates of free elective government, that is how the two-party system started, with federalists and anti-federalists who were two opposition to each other. As time passed, in 1829, the second party system rose from the spirit of anti-federalists due to disagreement and left the formation of Jacksonian Democrats, the current Democratic Party, that was led by Andrew Jackson, and Wing Part, that was led by Henry Clay. The two-party system continued to evolve, as in 1854, where the formation of a Republican Party happened, and it included most of the principles of the wings. From then until today, there was the dominance of either the two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. Therefore, as mentioned above, there are other parties, and their collective name is third parties. They have their impact in the national politics in different ways. They influence the election outcomes on occasional basis. For example, when they decide to dedicate their votes to one of the two dominant parties, the Republicans or the Republican, and sometimes candidates from the third party may obtain some of the elected position. For example, Socialist Party held 600 more officers, and Theodore Roosevelt obtained a significant number of votes in his presidential bid as the Progressive Party candidate in 1912, according to Women 18. To understand why their influence is vital in some occasions, the American voting system, the structure is that the winner takes all, meaning that whoever wins more votes in any state is awarded all votes from that state. Therefore, as the third parties have in mind that they will lose in the end, they might opt to dedicate their votes to one of the two parties, which would increase its chance of winning all votes from that particular state. Another impact of the existence is that they raise the awareness of the two major parties by highlighting some of the issues in the society that is the two parties bid, consider, not sign. Okay, thank you. Now let us move on the fourth question. What is the basic process by which a bill becomes a law? Now, let me first show you an image that is going to help us see different processes by which a bill becomes a law, and then I will be coming also exploring or talking more about it. Welcome on this image that is showing us a different process by which the bill becomes a law. As you can see on this image, the first process is the way of drafting the bill, the way being introduced to the House, to the committee, the vote to report the bill, the floor activities, the conferences, the way bill is introduced to the president, the way it becomes the law, printed or codified, until there is process where the bill becomes a regular. So by the help of this image, I'm going to explain more about the process by which the bill becomes a law. So now let us keep watching this presentation. Thank you. Now, with the help of the above image that I have shown you, that shows the basic process by which the bill becomes a law, now I'm going to give you a brief process of how the bill becomes a law. First of all, a bill can be referred to a law that has not yet been officially approved. So below are the steps taken for it, the bill to become an official law, as explained by NIH 2020. Firstly, drafting the bill. From the member of the Congress, either Senate or House representative, a bill can be drafted by anyone from those, as long as he or she has an idea for a law. The ideas may be from Congress in general, or the suggestion from citizen or advocacy groups. Therefore, the first Congress member to support the drafted bill is called the sponsor, and the other that choose to support it are called co-sponsors. Now, the second process, the bill gets introduced. After drafting the bill, it gets introduced by its sponsor. If the sponsor is a senator, he or she then introduces it to the Senate, and when he or she is a representative, the bill is introduced to the House. That is to say that the bill gets introduced to the House or Senate based on who sponsor it. Then the third process, the bill goes to the committee. After its introduction, it is taken to the committee. A committee is composed by different Congress members with different interests like the health or international affairs. Therefore, when handed the bill, their role is to carefully examine the bill for a better understanding and determine whether to let it pass or not. They use different ways, including holding hearing, from better explanation, and others. If the bill is not allowed to pass the committee, it is then considered to be dead. Now, the fourth process, subcommittee review the bill. When the bill is allowed to pass, then the committee hands it to the subcommittee, a small committee under the main committee, for their own hearing and further studies about the bill. They may change the bill, but this means that they must to take it back to the committee for examination. Now, the fifth process, committee markup the bill. When the bill review and studies by the subcommittee are completed, the committee meets the markup the bill. After this process, the committee makes some amendments and changes before reporting these to the floor, and these require voting from the committee. When the majority votes not to report it, the bill then dies, is considered as dead. And when they vote to report it, it then gets reported to the floor. The floor is referred to as the full chamber of either House Representative members or Senate member, depending on who sponsors it, as mentioned in the second step. Then the sixth process, voting by full chamber on the bill. When the bill is reported to the floor, the member then have some debates on the amendments and the changes made and then votes approving it. Therefore, it is passed or defeated, and when defeated, it is considered as dead. Then the seventh process, referral of the bill to the other chamber. When the bill passes, then it is sent to another chamber and repeats the same process from process 2 up to 6. That is to say that if the bill passes this process while the sponsor was a senator, then the bill is sent to the House to repeat the same process. Reversely, if the sponsor is a House representative, the bill is sent to the Senate to repeat the same process. Therefore, this means that there is a probability that it might pass under one chamber but fail to pass in another one. However, if this case occurs, the two chambers can form one mixed committee, include members of Senate and the House, to sort out any differences on how the bill is perceived by two chambers, and when they fail to come to agreements, the bill then dies. When agreements are reached, they therefore make one mixed floor composed of both Senate and House members to vote the bill to pass or not, and the majority of the votes determine the results. That means that if the majority votes to pass, it passes, and when not, it therefore dies. Now the eighth process, the bill goes to the president. When the bill passes that step, it is taken to the president to be signed and become an official law. Therefore, if he signs it, it immediately becomes a law. Again, if he spends 10 days without taking any action to it, automatically becomes the law. However, there is an instance where the president denies to approve the bill and reject it. This is called vetoing the bill. This doesn't, however, automatically mean that the bill is dead, unless the Congress doesn't take any action to the veto within 10 days. If 10 days are passed without the Congress taking any action, then the bill automatically dies. This is called pocket veto. Then there is another process, which is the last process. It is called overriding a veto. This process occurs only when the president has vetoed the bill, but the Congress takes action to override that veto within 30 days from the veto date. This is when all Congress members, senators, and House representatives sit together and vote overriding the president's veto. And when two of the three or the 2/3 of the whole Congress approves it, the president's veto is ruled out and the bill becomes a law. When they fail to reach 2/3 or 2 of 3, the veto stands and the bill dies. This means that the president does not possess the full power of denying or approving the law. So this is the end of my presentation, and I thank every participant who have helped me to answer the above question for their own understanding. And thank you very much for everyone who have given me his or her time to understand much more about how the US government works. My name is Christian Omeire. Thank you.